Do, 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 do. Okay. How's it look? Does it look okay? Okay. Sorry, we had technical difficulties with the hang on one sec. Does it look okay? Everything, I mean, it's the way it's supposed to be. I haven't done this in a little bit, so you don't have to forgive me. Okay, we're all set? We're all good? Okay. Um, where'd Fluff go? Because for some reason, this is horrible to see the chat. Hi. Okay, it looks good. Don't mind my cat. She's not happy because I'm making her stay in her kennel. Um, because she needs to be in her kennel. All right. Um, okay, well, Fluff, I need you to come in here because I can't see the chat on my phone and I don't know where the other one is. So you're gonna have to like come assist. Did like YouTube change that much since I've been away, or like what's the deal here? Anyway, hi. It has been pardon me, a long time. A lot longer than I would have liked it to be, but it is kind of what it is, right? Stuff happens. Okay, so we're having some technical difficulties. Do you have any? Hold on, guys, just one second. What is this? Like, have I been away from YouTube so long as to like I don't know what the heck's going on? Come look. Like, what is this? Like, I don't have chat.
It's waiting for guests. You're actually doing a stream where you can have somebody up on stream with you.
I didn't need you to yell it out loud, but I was just asking, like, what that was. You could have said it. Oh. You're like yelling right into the mic right there.
Sorry.
So, you're gonna have to like be near because I can't see the chat. I can't see what anybody's saying. So it's hard for me to do readings for people if I can't see what they're saying. This is kind of lame. You could have just been you. It wouldn't have mattered. That's so weird, you guys. Like, I wish I could show you what I'm looking at so that way, like, you guys can understand why I was like, what's going on? I can't see anything. Like, I can't see the chat, so it's hard to interact with you guys. Anyway, so now I've commandeered a phone. And we're gonna go with that. Now I have a phone, I can see the chat. Welcome to your 2023 Mabon reading. Wait a minute. That's this is still not directionally what I wanted. Okay. See, like, it's not in the right direction. This wouldn't be a tarot and tea reading if something wasn't going haywire. So hang on, guys. Like, this is going to be the wonkiest reading if that ever was a reading. If I have to do it this way. So I have to readjust because it's not moving. Or do I have to like do something? Oh, dude, YouTube, like I wasn't ready for this at all. Apparently, like I set it up my old-fashioned way, and apparently that's not the way anymore. Pardon me. Technical. Like I talk amongst yourselves. I love you guys too. I'm sorry for the chaotic mess. Okay. I wasn't away from YouTube that long. Like, I don't get it. Like, Okay, so should be able to see the cards now, like in their upright form. The other way, they would have been sideways, and that would have sucked. You wouldn't have been able to like see them. Hello, everyone. Okay, so I haven't done a live tarot reading on YouTube since February. Can you imagine that? Um, pardon me. And I am recovering from a upper respiratory infection that I got when Fluff and my youngest daughter got sick. And I tried really hard not to get sick, and then I ended up getting sick. And what sucks with colds and me is they take forever to leave the building. So I will go through like everything everybody else went to, except for the tail end of it is going to last me an additional like 2 to 3 weeks. So that's why I hate getting sick. Because I have really bad lungs from all the times I had the cocoa ro no 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 thing, and it really trashed my lungs the very first time I had it, and it didn't do much better the second time I had it. Thankfully, I haven't had it since, but it's like, if I get any type of chest cold or anything like that, it's like a bugger to get rid of. But hey, at least I have air in my lungs, right? So that's a good thing. Anyway, so back to this. So we are going to be using the Season of the Witch Mabon Oracle. Okay, Mabon, Mabon, everybody kind of has told me they've pronounced it a little bit differently. I call it Mabon. So that's how I say it, and that's how I'm gonna say it. And if I'm wrong, okay. That wouldn't be the first time. So what I wanted to do this time, because it's been a hot minute or two since I've done any readings. So normally you guys know that I go down the list through the zodiac, and I just kind of pull a general reading for the collective. And if it resonates, cool. And if it doesn't, it might resonate at another time, things like that. Well, that is all fine and dandy, but it does get repetitive. And repetition is sometimes glorious if you're a creature of habit, but sometimes it can get dreadedly boring. And what I wanted to do to celebrate this wonderful fall equinox, which, if you are on the West Coast, the fall equinox fell on last night's calendar. But if you were on the East Coast, it was technically on today's calendar because it happened at 12:50 my time, which was like, 2:50 on the West Coast, and it's obviously variable throughout the world. So, depending on your time zone. So, you could have celebrated it yesterday and you could celebrate it today. Either way, welcome to fall. And according to the witch's wheel, the fall celebration, or the celebration of the fall equinox, is known as Mabon. And people generally during this time tend to have an introspective, reflective moment. So, if you're really familiar with the death card, which can symbolize endings, but also does symbolize rebirth. So it's a cycle card. It is not just a end by any means. It is the end of a cycle, meaning a new one will begin. That's kind of the promissory note that you get with the death card. So as we come into Mabon, things are starting to get to that point where we're going to have that change. So we're beginning harvest season, and we're beginning to watch the colors change. We're getting beginning to watch or feel rather the weather change. You can watch it as well. And you can have all kinds of feelings and sights and sounds and smells and great things that happen during the season as we come into Samhain. But this is Mabon's one of my favorite parts of the wheel. It's a time that's getting us to that point of introspection and deep soul searching and kind of clearing out things, getting ready for that new change. So seasons die and rebirth themselves throughout the year. So we come into Mabon, and then we go into things like, Beltane, where everything is reblossoming and stuff like that. So if you watch, the seasons change and everything, it's just all really amazing cycles that involve us introspectively and retrospectively as well. Um, oh, well, that's good, Miss Vamp. Everybody calls you vodka, but I like to call you my vamp because she's awesome like that. She's my vamp. Anywho, so with all that being said, and paying attention to the former of what I said. This time, I would like to do some personal readings for all of you. So, if you are here in the chat and you are somebody who has never had a reading by me before, um, this would be an awesome time for you to get a introspective reading. So, what I will do is I will draw one card from the Mabon Oracle deck, and then I will clarify it with some tarot based on something you want to learn from this transitional season. Okay. So, kind of take a step back. Really think about what is this supposed to be bringing you? What change are you looking forward to? Kind of formulate a question or a power thought based off of that. And if you would like a reading in that context, just let me know in the chat and I'd be happy to read for you. So give me a few seconds while I shuffle and I guess you could just say like pick me or something and then I will go ahead and select my first victim or my first person and then we will kind of just go from there. And I'll have Fluff kind of keep a list for me, I guess. You can do that, right? Okay. Um, of who wants what and who's next and all that good wonderfulness. So let's go ahead and get some shuffles in. Look how pretty. I need to do a flip through of this deck and I might do that as a short because the long form of like deck walkthrough sometimes can get, like I said, kind of boring and people kind of are into the shorter form things when they want to see something or know something quickly. So maybe. Okay. I have two victims. So there's Charmaine and Vodka. So we will start with Miss Charmaine. So I'm going to have, like I said, think about something that you want to gain from this seasonal change. Think about something that is either being coming out of your life or coming into your world. How, like, what do you want to learn about that? How do you want to apply that? What would you like the cards to help you gain or dispense from this season? You know, this is a time where we're opening ourselves up to new things while pushing things away and clearing out that old space, essentially clearing the cobwebs, clearing out, the dust from old harvests and everything, getting ready for new things to come through. But this specifically kind of like concentrates on the removal aspect. So if you're thinking of like, okay, I know that I need to remove something in order to allow something to come forward. So if you have a situation like that in your life, that might be a good place to start question wise. And otherwise, I mean, it's kind of up to you. So Charmaine, if you have a question you don't mind me reading out in public for everybody, just type it in the chat. Pardon me. Is everybody excited about Halloween? Just me, huh? And if you can't come up with a question, you could just say, like, general, like, what do the cards want to tell me? Because sometimes formulating those kind of introspective and deeper communicative questions can be difficult, on the spot and stuff, especially in a public forum. So, just a general. Okay, so let's see what this season, this equinox is going to be bringing for Miss Charmaine, which is gathering. So gather in power, come together in grace. Unity is rising, and all will be embraced. Oh, okay. So this could be a time Charmaine, for you to focus on, and I mean, it rightfully so, because usually holidays do bring people together, whether it's family and friends, um, spirits too, like ancestors. Don't discount them in family plans and stuff like that. So some people are like, I don't have any family or I don't have any friends, and I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure you had family at some point. And if they are no longer on this physical plane, that doesn't mean that they're not on the other plane and still coming and popping in and getting a visit every so often. So that could be very much a possibility. But or if you are missing somebody that's from a different plane of existence, we'll go with that. They could be definitely wanting to pop in and see you and spend time with you this year. So laying out offerings to family or just placing out photos and stuff like around, Thanksgiving table, the Christmas trees, stuff like that, making, people that are no longer with us very much a part of holidays and gatherings and celebrations during this time. And that is going to allow you to clear out the heaviness of the memory and allowing in a more warmer, heartfelt memory. So even though um, you may not have people there with you at this time, physically, even if it's just distance, they don't have to have passed, it could just be distance. You can still find ways to invite them doing, Zoom calls and things like that. Um, just making sure that you're really focusing on the unity and that power of plenty and people in your life. But let's get some clarity on what this card particularly is trying to get you to focus on. So the Hermit in reverse, right away, that's, you coming out of any shells, any doubt, coming out with your wisdom, coming out with your knowledge, um, being with people that normally you probably didn't want to be around, that you may not have meshed well with before. Rebirths, reunities, rekindling. But like I said, this can also be like, people that have passed. So if you like, if I was to apply this to me, I would definitely look at this as all the, I've had a lot of sincere feelings of like the people that I've lost in the last decade, but more specifically the last few years, like the last 3. I've lost a lot of very, very important people, like my father, my brother, and my cousin that I was extremely close to, my aunt, things like that. So for me, if I was to apply that, I would be like, no, I'm definitely going to be hanging up their pictures more and watching the movies that, made me remember them at those times and things like that, and really re-inviting that spirit into my home because maybe that's what you need in order to heal. But also making sure that you're filling that physical space as well as that spiritual space. So making sure you are inviting people over, plan a Halloween get together. It doesn't have to be on Halloween. I know some people have kids and stuff like that, and everybody kind of makes their own plans, but maybe something around that time, going to a pumpkin patch, things like that. Making sure you're filling that physical space so you don't find yourself in dread and in situations that might not be healthy purging, that might actually bring you further down. So, you know, to feel alone or anything like that, or to not feel included, that could also be a thing that you might be facing is I'm not always invited to things, or maybe I wasn't invited, for whatever reason it happens. I mean, doesn't mean you're not a lovely person, because I absolutely know that you are, but sometimes we can find ourselves not on the guest list of something. Take that in how it resonates. And if that is the case, when life gives you lemons, you squeeze them in people's eyes that you don't like. Don't do that. You probably get in trouble. But what you do is you sit there and go, okay, somebody wants to have lemonade with me somewhere in the world. Invite that person. You will always be included by the people that want to include you. And you will always find inclusivity in those that are inviting towards you. So don't worry about where you aren't supposed to be, because if you weren't invited, you weren't supposed to be there. Worry about where you were supposed to be. Worry about the people that you are supposed to be commingling with and enjoying that space and that preservation of self, and commitment to those relationships that enrich you. That's going to be the key word, is fortification for yourself. So where you might feel that, things are dying or ending, friendship wise, family wise, whatever, then you need to replant and grow from what was no longer there. Don't let the garden go barren. It's just, disc up that dirt and replant and find a new crop that is more suitable for you right now. And that doesn't mean that those old crops aren't beneficial and they won't come back. Um, it's just not at this time. So don't sit and wonder and self isolation and things like that. No, you need to have your gathering. Maybe this is also a time where you find your soul tribe, where you find your sisterhood, where you find the people that are really meant to be with you and you really grasp that and hold on to it. It wasn't no more than like 3 years ago for me where I really found my soul tribe and I really found my purpose, and it came after um, getting a divorce. So communication, 8 of Wands, fast communication. You're going to start hearing from people. And if not, you're thinking about people you want to communicate with. Don't feel that you aren't allowed to make those phone calls. Don't feel that you aren't allowed to make that, to put that foot out there, to text that person. Just because someone's busy doesn't mean that they don't want to hear from you. It just literally means, you know what? Oh my gosh, I wanted to message her, but I ended up remembering to message her at 11 o'clock at night. And I don't want to bother her. So sometimes people can get that mix mash of, crossed lines where it's like everybody's thinking about everybody, but overthinking about everybody in the sense of like, I want to make sure that, I'm being respectful to that person and their space and blah, blah, blah. And then you kind of have self doubt, and then that mixes into the equation and it's a big old hubble bubble. So this is saying, go ahead and make that movement. Go ahead and reach out and make that connection. And that way, plan those gatherings, get it going, because that is what's going to fortify you at this time and going into this season. So from, Mabon all the way up into Halloween, make some plans, get out there and go do stuff. If you're coming into yourself spiritually, um, find your tribe, find where people like you hang out. If you're really into crafting, you know, f- look up online crafting guilds, people that do the types of crafts that you're into. If you're like for me, being into tarot, I'd look up, if anybody's having any psychic fairs or spiritual things that I can go to and, bump elbows with like minded people and, you know, put myself out there. You have a purpose in doing that at this time. So that is the message for you. And I hope you take part in that. All right. So I believe it was Miss Vamp that is next. And Miss Vamp, if you have a question or something that you would like to know about yourself or what needs to present to you at this time during this wonderful equinox season, you can put the question in the chat, or we can just do like what we did for Miss Charmaine and just get you a general message, whatever you're comfortable with. The universe does work in extremely mysterious ways. Like, I had no rhyme or reason to come back and do a live randomly that I never announced at all, like other than today. And I had planned it like days ago or weeks ago, like 2 weeks ago. Like I kind of snuck it in there. So I was like, let's just see. Let's see if I can surprise people. I didn't anticipate anybody showing up to the live, but I figured why not? Why not see what happens? All right, Miss Vamp. Just a general reading, please. Okay. So I think we got enough vamp in the mix here. So we're gonna pull a card for Miss Vodka Vamp. And I don't read oracles in reverse because who does that? Okay, straw bale. It's time you step out of your comfort zone, take up space, and reach new heights. This is all about ascension. So if you were embarking on a project that you were like, I don't know. I don't know if I should do it. I don't know if this is right for me. This is telling you it probably is right for you. Or at least a portion of it is. You're going to go into self discovery at this time. You're going to go into something that makes you uncomfortable, but in all the right ways. So, no growth ever happened from something that just sat and waited in the water, right? It has to take root, it has to stretch, it has to grow. and growth always has a little bit of pain. So growing pains are never pleasant, or at least some are less pleasant than others. That doesn't mean you're going to go out there and, just be a big old ball of anxiety and mess. No, you're going to be sitting there going, look, this normally is what I'd be doing. I'd be sitting on the couch with my feet propped up and a bowl of ice cream. But today, instead of doing that, I'm actually going to go out and I'm going to go talk to a random stranger in the park. I'm just going to go do it. I've always wanted to just hand a stranger a flower and tell them, I hope you have a great day. That might be what you're doing. Like Miss, if you've never visited Miss Vodka Vamp's channel, which I totally recommend you do, um, she's always full of positive reflection, positive information, positive. She really does dispel positivity from her pores. Like she just leaks it everywhere. Like you can't be in a negative mindset around her at all. I mean, she granted she recognizes negativity, and we all do. It comes into our lives, and it's hell on wheels. But she finds a way to spin it into something and digest it in a way that it actually feeds her soul, as we all should. And she will sit there sometimes with, life weighing on her, but she will never turn a person away from her shoulder if you need it for a moment or two. She will always find that time and space, even if her walls are coming down. So, this might be something that you present further out in the world, but that in a way that it's also coming back to you where you can see it, sense it, taste it's more tangible for yourself. So, kind of like a straw bale, where it's bound up and it's ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and get some clarity on this so it can be better directed to Miss Vamp. So let's clarify number 37, the straw bale from Mrs. Vodka Vamp. Let's get some clarity. So the Emperor in reverse. Okay. The Emperor in reverse really, to me, does signify things that we're telling you what you can and cannot be. And you believed it for such a long time. Like, you're only ever as good as blank. Because I am like this, I am not blank. Because I am like this, I am blank. Somebody said, this is what you are, this is what you'll be. And you believed it for so long. Then you came into something that made you realize, who are they to depict who I am? They are not God. They are not, my chief in command. So why did I believe that for so long? It could be social media, it could be friends and family, it could be anything that made you feel conformed to something that hypothetically didn't ever exist. So one thing I tell people when they're like, I don't like the way I look, I want to be perfect. Who told you that you weren't perfect? Because who were they to even dictate that? You are a created being floating on a rock that is circulating through the universe. Who the hell are any of us to know anything? Like, for real, we're a little speck of dust on this big ass star that's like rotating around. Like, there's things out there that is bigger than our conscious mind could ever even fathom. And even if we could, we would be so scared shitless that we would run from it anyway, which we always do. So we're going to believe another piece of sand telling you what kind of sand you are. That doesn't make any sense, but yet we do it every day because we gave that sand something called an opinion. And then other sand said, hey, that person's kind of cool. I like their opinion. I'm going to follow it. All it is sand following sand. So just remember, it's always sand. At the end, it will always be sand, right? And that's what we've programmed ourselves to do, is fall victim to ourselves. And in this, you are no longer a victim. You are no longer shackled to the idea that was formulated by somebody else. One of my favorite quotes is, I am not who I think I am. I am not who you think I am. I am who I think you think I am. And if you play that in your mind, you realize like everything is a thought based process. Everything is an energetical process. And energy is how you feel, how you perceive, how you, and sad to say, it's all programming. But you're letting that go. You're starting to come into, or you will be coming into, or you should focus on coming into the idea that restrictions and this ruler dictatorship that has occurred probably from youth up until now never mattered. All that mattered was you. But people found a way to silence you in order to essentially catapult themselves. And how do catapults work? Once something has to weigh down so something can come forward, well, they used you as a weight so that they could come forward. And that was unfortunate that they did that. But ultimately, what they did was gave you more time to watch them fail, and how they you don't want to watch, how you don't want to perceive the way they did. And because anytime somebody has to use somebody else to rise above, they will fail because it's superficial. The strength card. So this is a time where your strength is going to be formulated. Yes, it's going to be difficult. Yes, it's going to be uncomfortable. And yes, sometimes it's very difficult reprogramming what's been ingrained in us for so long. It's almost innate, but it's not. So when we're first made, when we first become into this existence, we're nothing but a pile of cells, a very, very, very tiny, tiny pile of cells. And we don't have conscious thought at all. We're just literal energy that is being bound together and creating a reaction that creates an entire human being. And that's insane. But it's the reality, right? So anything's possible. The world is genuinely limitless. So this is something that you're taking forward and you're strengthening yourself with, because you have found out that you have that purpose and you have that ability, and that purpose and ability are something that everybody needs. However, be careful with the way you present it and be careful with the way that it is perceived. This is something that I try to teach anybody that is new to any type of public speaking, like myself in the tarot community. I teach tarot often. I help people newly establish themselves in the tarot. And one of the things that I tell people is you are not just responsible for reading and giving a message, but you are responsible for how it is perceived by that person. And you are definitely responsible for the deliverance of that so that they can use it according to what this is telling you to tell them. So you cannot just sit there and say, "Hey, these cards say, yeah, don't go and date that guy. He's trash." You know, is that might have been the literal message, but was that the message that they needed to hear? Did you do enough diligence by adding additional cards to read the actual message? Did you pay attention to everything around it? Did you deliver it as such? Because yeah, she wasn't supposed to date that person, but she wasn't supposed to ignore them either. They were supposed to remain a friend in her life. And because you delivered that message wrong, they missed out on a golden opportunity in their lives to have something that did enrich them. They just weren't supposed to be a romantic relationship. So be careful with your tongue, because the Queen of Swords, she's amazing in every sense of the word. She's strong. She's been there. She knows what she's doing. She has that tongue that is very sharp as her sword. When she's in reverse, she does not have the filter that doesn't, essentially she turns into a bitch, okay? So she doesn't have that same filter that delivers the message to where the person is understanding the signifiers of it. She's just blurting it out there going, "You know what? It is like this because it is like this and you shouldn't be doing that." People don't receive those messages very well. What they do with those messages is they rebel against them because they see it as, "You are dictating to me what I should and shouldn't do," instead of giving that message in a sense of, "Hey, I was there. Let me walk you through this. This is a different day. This is, a different time period, and anything's possible." You'd be amazed how somebody can feel when you tell them anything is possible. Look at here. At one point, somebody told our president that he could be president when he was a little boy. And he believed that, and he's president, whether you like him or not. Okay. At some point, somebody told Walt Disney that he could be anything he wanted to be, and he chose to be an animator that eventually tycooned theme parks. You know, but he started off just like us, a cluster of cells that grew into a little tiny baby that grew into a toddler, a child, an adult, no different than any of us. So, this is something where we have to remember how we deliver messages. And I'm hoping I'm delivering this one properly as well. So, I'm going to flip one more card to make sure that I am. And one of the things that it's reminding me to tell you is you don't have to make everything balance. Some things just aren't going to make sense until they do. Sometimes you don't know what you're doing until you're doing it, right? That's what this is kind of trying to tell you. Okay. And me at the same time. So, don't forget that not everything is going to be balanced. Not everything is going to make sense. Okay. Not everything is going to be in your wheelhouse. Sometimes somebody coming to you for help helps you more than it helps them. So, that's the message that I have for you, Miss Vamp. Hopefully, it made sense. All right. Texas Sean. Is she still here? Mary Ann? If Texas Sean's still here, she's next. Hopefully, she's still here. A general. Alrighty. So after Texas Sean, if anyone needs a reading for this fall equinox, I would be more than happy to give you that reading. Normally, I don't do personal readings on lives, and I just kind of felt the pull to do that today as something different, as something that changes things up a bit. New beginnings, new cycles, new things, that whole jazz. So has it been weird that I haven't been doing lives? Have you guys missed me? Probably not, right? I mean, I wouldn't. Oh, grumpy me. Alrighty. Miss Texas. Okay. Witch's Rosary. Craft your skill with intentions repeated, a practice of magic powered by purpose. So, this is almost to the tune of meditation, but in a sense of manifestation or prayer, if you will, because both of those meditation, prayer are all things to take us and center us into a place where we can receive or give instruction, action, or to literally just calm oneself. Okay, it can be used for any of the above. So at this time, it's reminding you to find that center of calm and work with, if you pray, making sure that you're paying attention to daily prayer. And if you meditate, make sure that you're making time for that practice of meditation, making sure that you're really paying attention to your spiritual side and giving it that time and that respected place. So that's essentially what I'm getting for this. If that's something you've been doing, um, it's probably reminding you to, do a deeper dive or add to that or go to that next step that you were planning on doing because now is the time for that. Because usually when we plant seeds like that is because we're meant to grow. We're meant to harvest something, and I think that that's what it's really trying to pull you towards right now. Or maybe you've just had so much chaos and you've had so much things going busy that even though you were planning these practices or you were partaking in these practices, maybe you weren't really pulling in all that you needed to pull in. So it's having you really calmly sedate yourself into the process. So let's get some clarity though. Let's see if we can get a direct message if there's something that really needs to come through. Okay, so you have the Six of Pentacles in the upright. And with the Six of Pentacles, it's making sure that you're balancing things that, with equal give and take, that you are making sure that you're conserving and reserving as much as you are giving as well. So making sure that I have an ebb and flow, whether it's if you're involved with the church, that making sure that you're giving yourself to the church as much as that you are receiving from the church. So if you feel that there's something like I'm going and I'm feeling in the same rut, I'm feeling like I'm just running like a hamster on a wheel, take some time to take an additional Bible class or a study night or speak to some people in the congregation. If you're doing things like meditative work and stuff like that, maybe getting into some qigong or something that is really going to enrich you energetically. Take that next step. Temperance, patience. And I think something really is drawing you into making time and space and having patience for putting in and getting a result. So sometimes, like, we're so quick to be like, I've been working on myself, I've been working on myself, I've been working on myself, or I've been working towards this goal, or I've been really putting something into practice and I'm not seeing anything, or I'm not seeing anything quickly enough, or I'm seeing the opposite of what I'm trying to put in, or anything like that. It's asking you to just have the patience. This is like the situation where somebody would have been given instructions and told to walk, a certain distance to get to their goal. That um their their great valley is just over this hill, but they're like, I've walked through 19 different hills and I still have not found my great valley. Well, if they get to that one hill, and they're getting ready to go up it and go, you know what, I don't have it in me to walk another 19 hills, and they turn around and go back. But if they would have just kept going that one more hill, there was their valley. Okay, so it's kind of that situation where it's really going to be, um, especially like in Virgo season, where it's really going to like punch you in the gut before you get release from whatever it is that you get the reward from whatever it is that you've been working so hard towards. So sometimes the ultimate goal is to make sure that you complete the task, and it's not so much the goal in and of itself. Sometimes the reward is saying, hey, I did it. I was able to actually do this when normally I wouldn't have been able to, or I don't think I would have had the concentration or self endurance to do so. All right. So with the Seven of Swords, don't take the, don't stop. Like once you receive what is being presented to you, what you received that, once you hit that goal, so to speak, don't stop there because you're going to literally rob yourself of the better benefit. Don't take the quick and easy satisfaction. You want to keep yourself steady and paced on this as a continual or lifelong journey or lifelong goal. Okay, that's what you really want from this. You want to make this something that you implement and enrich yourself with as a continual thing. So, I know a lot of us like will hit that like goal weight or whatever. Like I know a lot of us will be like, oh, I'm gonna go work out because I want to get to whatever goal, whether it's inches, pounds, whatever. And once they hit it, they're like, all right, I've hit it. Now what? Don't do you keep working out? Do you keep the diet going? What do you do? Well, you certainly don't fall back into old habits because that's going to definitely put you back where you once were. But it's like, now what do I do? Now you just adopt it as something that is a part of you. And it's telling you not to forget that because if you do, you really do rob yourself of the ultimate reward. So hopefully that makes sense. Pardon me. All righty. Who's next? Florna's next. Okay, Florna, do you have a question that you would like to know about during this equinox season? Or would you just like something general? Well, you're welcome. Because I know Texas Sean probably has some really cool stuff going on that they've been working on. And I think the world wants them to know that they are supposed to have it for the long term. A health reading. Okay. Let's see what messages for health that we can have come through for you, Miss Juana. Fire cider, which is crazy because this is all about health. Dwell in the medicine that exists to protect the spirit. So, when we're not feeling well physically, we often have made ourselves sick on a spiritual plane. And a lot of people believe that. If you believe in the different planes of existence, they'll be like, your soul gets sick before your body does. And what that really does mean is we allow ourselves to take in toxic situations, toxic substances, things that probably weren't good for us in some fashion. And it ended up making us physically sick later on, or vice versa, even. So, fire cider is what it's a literal drink that people make. And I had literally just mentioned it on Twitter not that long ago, saying I needed to make some for this dang cold. And well, there you go. That's for your neurological. It's asking you to really pay attention to things that are enriching you so that you can continue on paths of treatment, maybe in the physical sense, whether that is, medications or whatever they have you on. If you're not feeling good in the out of body, your body's not going to work as good as you would want it to, or treatments don't work as good as you want them to. Anxiety can impede on that. A lot of things can impede on progressive works with things that are improving of health. So ultimately, and I don't want, because this is involving health, I don't want to get too bold and to say much just off of an oracle card. So I'll draw some of the tarot, but it's telling you to so if you were considering a new treatment, or if there has been any talks of a new type of treatment for any of your neurological conditions or anything like that, or maybe it wants you to look into some, because maybe there is something out there that is going to be helpful to you. But if we're not feeling good on the inside, like, our spirit and stuff, yeah, we're not going to go looking for new treatments or anything. We're going to feel like, nothing's worked, things like that. We get a little stalemate about it. So it's seeking the medicine that's working for you, but it's definitely wanting you to do so to protect the spirit. Okay. And by spirit, meaning your energy. Okay. But let's get some clarity on this. So, with the Ace of Wands being in reverse, either either the situation, I don't want to get too because it is medical. I don't want to get too deep on alive, but with an Ace of Wands being in reverse, either you've tried something new and it's not working as well as you'd hoped, or you're not seeing the results fast enough, or some type of treatment, either that or some type of treatment is not coming in fast enough, whether it's in trial phase or anything like that. That could also be a possibility. But don't abandon hope. Don't abate this situation. If it hasn't come in yet, it's coming and it's just okay. It's saying not to abandon. Okay. You have the Six of Swords in the reverse. So don't abandon things yet. Just like in my last message where I said, if that person had just gone that one more hill, they would have found their valley. It wants you to stay focused on this, but I know it's difficult. I know it's hard. Anytime you're involved in anything medical that isn't working the way you were promised, or maybe you've had a lot more setbacks with it. Um, Hi, sis. Um, or maybe you've had, like I said, you've had a lot of setbacks with it. Something is not in the progressional as much as it had been hyped up to be, or as much as you had hoped for. But even so, don't give up just yet. Don't, it's, if you were considering coming off of something or anything like that, it's saying not to just yet. Okay, it doesn't want you to give up on the possibilities. Okay, some things just take a little longer. Okay. um this is going to enrich and help. With that Queen of Pentacles, that's very tangible energy. You're going to become stronger in the physical sense because Pentacles being physical. So this is going to enrich you somehow. This is going to, hey Dom, this is going to create something that is more, you are going to start seeing and feeling better. I think what'll happen is it's like you're going to start realizing things that aren't going wrong versus the things you've been wanting to go right with it or wanting to feel with it. You're going to start realizing the things you are no longer feeling, and that's going to help you stay on this course. Does that make sense? Shani will enrich. You can make me rich. That'd be awesome. Okay, perfect. So ultimately, I mean, you're going to take this as internalized as you can, and I'm going to try to give it to you in the general sense because, like I said, nobody needs to know your personal health stuff. But hopefully, this gives you a map of what might have been going on inside mentally or anything like that that can provide you with a little bit more clarity. All right, and I hope you feel better soon. Who's next? Miss Jan. She's still here. Oh, Jan Osborne. Is she still here? Oh, no wonder it's that little bitch. Oh, I'm sorry, it's that little bugger PLE. PLE has commandeered Shani's live her name or channel. Yes, I said the B word. But it's not really Shani. It was PLE. Can I do a funny one for PLE? Are they share? It's like, are they sitting next to each other listening? They're in the car. You know what? Since those two just got married, I didn't cough because that was funny. I coughed because I have a cough. But hang on, I'm gonna take the sips. Let's see what the unified ones. Let's do a conjoined one here. Let's see for Shani and PLA. And I'll try to be serious, but it's so hard with those two, especially him. Okay, this one's for Shani and PLE since they just got married and stuff. Let's see what messages we have for them. Oh, she stole back her phone. Okay, so I'll do one for the both of you because you just got married, and then I'll do one for you personally. Okay. Apothecary cabinet. Without practice, without befriending them, they are strangers in your path. So if you don't, it's kind of like, the whole like if you don't use it, you lose it type situation. But in life, it's okay, when you get married, don't forget about the little tiny stupid things that made you independently as people one on one come alive. You'll always have you and him together or you and her together being a unity, but apart from that, you will always be separate individuals. Don't forget that. Don't forget the little quirks about yourself. Make sure you're taking time for those independent things because they are so important in the self-preservation so that you can become unified in a stronger unification, in other words. So don't forget the little things. Don't forget your little quirks. Don't forget your little like things that you like doing, and make sure to give yourself time to go do those. They may not always be with each other. Some will be, some won't be, but make sure that you're always pouring from a cup that can be poured from. And in order to do that, you got to remember the little things because you don't want to become a stranger to yourself in the process of becoming a unit either. Hey, Bat Rican. So let's get clarity on this. Ten of Pentacles in the reverse. Money troubles will always happen. They happen to the best of us, myself included. Um, when thou art manifest broke bitch syndrome, it shows up, So, and it shows up for the best of us. And that's what's telling you, just because you have struggles in home or with money or anything like that does not determine anything. You're still resourceful in yourself and you always will be. And don't forget to, if you're a person who is good with, hey, I don't need everything in the world, don't lose that side of you. A lot of people lose that side of themselves when they become something different. And sometimes even when you become a married couple, like you could be, completely different than who you were a week before you married each other. So don't forget the little things. Don't forget the little parts about you. Don't try to be something for the presence of an audience. That's kind of funny because you guys are both on YouTube and we all deal with a lot of audiences. But don't forget, who you were just as a soul separate individual. And that soul separate individual didn't really require a whole lot. So don't end up becoming people that do. Makes sense, hopefully. The Empress card. Hang on, let me go clarify that real quick. The Fool card. Okay. Don't worry about things that are not in your control, which is about 99.999% of everything. And who wants to be responsible for that? Who wants to be responsible for the shit you're out of control of? So always go on things respecting yourself, respecting each other, but being carefree about stuff. There are times where you just have to say, oh, okay, I didn't have control of that. And it happened. Cool. All right, now what? Sometimes you just have to learn to laugh even when it's painful. Okay. And be secure in yourselves, be secure in each other, be secure, but be secure with knowing that it's a lot more fun to go through life when you don't care about the stuff that doesn't really matter. And that's about 99% of the things you'll encounter. They don't really matter in the long scheme. Are you able to take it with you when you leave this earth? If not, probably doesn't matter as much as you think it does. And I've learned that hardcore this last year and specifically the last 6 months. But if, like I said, if it doesn't fit into your heart, then it's probably not that important. So there you go. Certain things are necessities though. Like make sure, I know food doesn't always fit into that little space in your chest, but it's important. So yep. Make sure that you're taking time for you. And oh yeah, if you're not planning on getting pregnant, um take precautions for that. Just saying. Next is Shani's independently. So you'll get Shani. Oh, she's back? Well, where'd she go? Okay, we'll do Jan and then I'll come back to Shani. So does Jan, do you have a specific question or just a general? Cool. I'm glad it makes sense because sometimes I'm senseless. Don't mind me. I just got my brain 40 years ago. I mean, it's still like in warranty, I think. Did you renew the warranty on my, did you extend the warranty on my brain, darling? Because you should. Like, there's some senility that runs in my family and all kinds of stuff. So I'm not guaranteed to come out of this thing even knowing who the hell I am in the next 20 years. So 3-year warranty. Well, you better extend that or you're gonna be in trouble. Where'd Miss Jan go?
We're not talking, no, not you, Shanny. I'm talking about Jan. There was somebody else that left. We'll do your independent.
Okay, if Jan hasn't come back, okay, we'll go to Shani's, get her independent done. See if there's a baby coming through here. I mean, beside Peely, I know he wears diapers and sometimes draws on the wall, but I mean, he's technically not a baby, you know. Well, you would know, wouldn't you? Back there. Alrighty. For Miss Shani. Okay. Apple of my eye. Not all that's alluring may be what it seems. See beyond the illusion. Does that really need explaining? Because I think that was pretty straightforward. Um, a lot of things seem like that's exactly what I want. But like I said earlier, you don't know what you're doing until you're doing it, right? You know, and then you find out, hey, this kind of sucks, you know, or this isn't exactly what I kind of wanted. So that's what I'm kind of seeing for this. Is just kind of pay attention to things, read between the lines, and realize, like, you know, I'm not talking about that. This is talking about Peely. No, 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 no. I would never talk about him like that. Anyway, but so but shut up back there. You're ruining my jokes. I'm trying to get me a stand-up deal. and but anyway, so just make sure that, like, you know, when we go into stuff, that, you know, we go into it sometimes thinking like this is what I wanted, until we have to make the commitments, the adjustments, the time, all this other, this and that and the other, anything it may entail. And you may be like, in the long run, like, gosh, you know, I should have just did it this way to begin with. It's kind of asking you to pay attention to those things. And once we realize those introspective thoughts, to hold on to them and apply them here on out. All righty. So let's get some clarity on this message specifically. Okay, and Jan wants a general reading, so I'll be able to just go right into that. So let's clarify this for Miss Shani. Hello, come back. Knight of Pentacles, you are in a race of determination to get something done. Okay, this Knight of Pentacles, he is like, I ain't here to mess around. This is what I want, and this is what I'm getting. Like, no stop until it's done. But like I said, you need to pay attention to not all that is alluring may be what it seems. Okay, sometimes we want something, we find out that, damn, I there was an easier way to do this, or this was just not as beneficial to me as I thought. Pay attention to what the process is making you feel, what it is making you think about, what it is doing to you. Is it enriching you? Is it stretching you to grow? Or is it shrinking you down and condensing you? You know, you pay attention to that type stuff, you know. um has it been making things better? Has it been making things worse? Pay attention to the signs from the universe. Is my time and attention better applied towards this? What did I neglect in trying to present, or trying to obtain a new goal or a new situation, or prove results with something else? Where did I, you know, you always have to pay attention to where the bend and flex and stretch and pulls were. That kind of sound a little dirty, but get your head out of the gutter, Fluff. Anyway, and go back in the gutter with Plevis, you know, but don't take everybody else with you. But yeah, it's one of those situations where you need to really pay attention, or constantly, not even just this situation, but at this time overall, pay attention to what this stuff, the universe, is really speaking to you. Have you been hitting a lot more bumps than you have, you know, straightforward paths? Why is that? What would if you had done something differently to make a direction easier or better or more self-fulfilling, what would you have done? And if you're like, okay, I would have done this. Okay, so maybe pay attention to what that application of thought is trying to show you, so you can apply that same application of thought further. but in the sense this is action. So that might be a thought, but you need to apply it into action. Okay. And have that be continual. All righty. Let's keep going. The Lover's card in the reverse. Okay. When the Lover's card is in reverse, that doesn't mean like, oh my God, my love life is shit. It doesn't mean that. It just means, is the action that I'm focusing on one that enriches me, one that creates that unification and connection? Or is this something in the long run that is going to create a resentment? Or is it going to create resistance? Is it going to create something? And make sure that you're fulfilling the pot versus just the cup. Does that make sense? Fortification of, the entirety in the longest term possible versus short term. And I noticed that's where a lot of people are like, no, I'm so quick to want to buy a house. And they put everything into the wanting to buy the house, wanting to buy the house, or a specific house. Let's just say they want to buy this specific house. And they have to put everything into that specific house. And then they buy the house and then they find out, like, oh my God, it requires all this work. All this plumbing is bad. So you have to spend another, $50,000 replacing all the plumbing when you could have gotten a house that was pretty much the same, just a little bit different and far more, stable. So sometimes we look at things in different goggles and different lenses. And that's kind of the syntax that this is like really asking you to borrow from, making sure things are enriching the long run and not creating resentment, not creating hostility, because sometimes when we're trying to chase a goal, we can get past, things that how things feel, how, the interactions, things like that, between our partnerships. Even, and this could even be friendships too. This does not have to mean your spouse. This could just mean literally like any type of relationships that, are unities that you once had. You don't want to neglect things or find neglectment becoming a habit in order to chase something. Okay. Because you'll find out you'll eventually get where you're going, but sometimes this stuff goes away. Okay. Um, energy, energy flows where attention goes, in other words. Okay, so we'll get one more card to kind of close that message off. You need to learn how to rest more. Okay, and specifically your mind. Stop trying to control the situations. Stop trying to set, superfluous goals or arbitrary goals or anything like that. Let things be what they are in the time frame that they will be. Okay, don't try to make, because that's literally what makes things more difficult. It's like if it doesn't happen, something isn't what it is by this time. Like people are like, if I don't own a house, let's just use the analogy. If I don't have my house in the next 5 years, then you won't have your house in the next 5 years. What the f does that even mean? Stop setting yourself up for a failure. Stop setting yourself up for the resentment, and that's kind of where I see this going. You know, because those things, when people say like you have to have something by the time you're 40, by the time you're 45, if you don't have these things, you're not what you say you are. You're not. You're part of the elite or whatever. That's BS, because like I said, who the hell are people to tell another person who they are, what they are, and how to be? It's not true. But this can also be part of one of self reflection. You could be sitting here saying that you personally aren't good enough for something or don't fit the mold of something, when in the actuality, because you're carrying that mindset, it's not enriching your relationship. It's making things less of a enrichment, because you're allowing something to dictate something that isn't for it to dictate. In other words, let your mind relax. Okay. Take a breath. You know, um, don't work yourself up. Normally, the rest would come in the form of the upright, but from the reversal, what I'm seeing right here is letting yourself actually have that rest. Because at a time where your mind and your spirit is so desperate to just release and be what it is, you're telling it, if you're not this, then you're not anything. Okay, so you need to remind yourself, like, Don't let the world set you up for failure. Don't let people, of all things in this damn world, don't let a person set you up for who you are or who you are not. Okay? You We don't get to dictate that. Nobody else gets to dictate it for us. So enjoy life. Just enjoy things because you're not making it out of this alive. Okay? You're only going to be able to enjoy it for as long as you're able to enjoy it, and that's not determined by us. You know, unless you self cancel, which don't do that. I'll be very very mad, and I'll have to self cancel myself just to chase you around the afterlife and kick you really hard. But I don't want to do that, so don't do that. Anyway, all right. So hopefully that message made sense somehow. All right, Miss Jan, this one is for you. Okay, well they'll figure it out. All right, so this is for Jan. Okay. Miss Jan, who's been super duper patient. So we're going to give her a little bit more of an in depth reading. She wanted just a general. So messages for Jan. I'm going to take both of those because those came out together. You have Queen of the Dead. Fear not the rage of fire living within you, for it is the power of your fierceness waiting to taste you fully. And Ghost Whisperer. Be still in the whispers that ebb and flow through the silence. Okay. Now, Miss Jan, you could be going through something that you feel like a lot of pressure about, probably a lot of maybe feelings that are uncomfortable to you, whether they are fierce and anger driven or just ferocious driven, that just fire, tenacity, things like that. These could probably be uncomfortable feelings for you at times. And if they are uncomfortable, that's okay. Don't be afraid of that. That's there for a purpose. That's there to help you become something and push you into that next phase or that next situation that you need to be in, that you're meant to be in. And you might have that apprehension of being like, this doesn't feel like me. This is not normally what I would do. This is not normally how it would be. Because it is not your normal does not mean it is not supposed to happen. Okay. And at this time, it's saying, "Be still in the whispers that ebb and flow through the silence." Okay, hidden meanings, things that are subconsciously known. Okay, those are the things that are going to matter the most, like those subconscious messages. Perhaps you're having recollections of things people have told you from your past, maybe people that have passed away, and you're remembering those messages like, oh my god, my grandma would have never let me do this. My grandma would have, this is just an example, and maybe your grandma hasn't passed, but example. But she was like, "Oh, my grandma would be so, she'd be turning over in her grave if she knew I was letting someone talk to me like this." Like, just an example, because you might be having those recollective thoughts. They might be, building up something within you, and if it hasn't happened yet, it might be coming. Okay, so maybe that makes sense. But we'll get some clarity, some further clarity on these cards to help it make some sense. Do, do, do. All righty. So we have the strength card, and that's basically all we've been talking about is things, your inner strengths, those inner callings, those inner voices, things that are strengthening you. You may not be feeling that great about it right now because you're coming out of a situation that was really chaotic. There is chaos. You've been, even if you're not sensing it entirely, the chaoticness that has been just circulating around you because you're used to it. That's what I'm getting is like, these messages, these callings, these situations, like they've either been dormant, they've always been a part of you, but maybe perhaps been dormant because you might have just been so used to being the person who puts out all the fires, being the person who handles everything, make sure everything is as neat as it can be, as what it needs to be. And that you might be getting to the point of just frustration. You might be getting to the point of, I don't want to have to be that person anymore. You might be having that build up, like that volcanic build up right now. And that would be normal for this type of energy. Let's get one more card for clarity. So, conflict. And I think all this is mostly internal. What I'm seeing right here is with that, like, you're very, I'm getting suppression. You might be suppressing these feelings because you don't feel like you have a right to have that say, or have that, um, or bring forth that quote unquote drama, or bring forth your energy into the situation. And you're afraid of the consequence that could possibly happen. And in the case of this, it's like sometimes we need to burn a bridge to build a new one. Maybe that one's just too old and it wouldn't have gone anywhere on its own. Like, it's very difficult for you to see futuristically what's going to happen. And that's what's making you so apprehensive. You're like, I mean, I would do it if I knew what the outcome would be. I think you know all this stuff already. I think you know, like, what you need to do, and and I think you know that this is okay, but you have such strong apprehensions because you're like, I mean, there's things that you don't want to lose, there's things you don't want to create, but at the same time, I think you know that sometimes lighting the match is what is necessary, especially for somebody who doesn't normally do that type of thing. Like, maybe you don't want people thinking like, you know, heck, I don't want people thinking that I'm this horrible person, but you're not. So this card is unique to this deck, and it is the mother and child. Maybe you feel like you aren't supported enough. And if that is the case, support is around you, even if it is found within you. And when you find that support, you know, it doesn't mean that the battles are over with 10 of or 9 of swords in the reverse. That's the anxiety that you would normally feel that would keep you awake at night. That's keeping you festering on these situations, or where this energy is impeding from. You want to relieve yourself of that burden. And I don't think you realize how quite heavy that burden is to you because you've carried it for so long. It's just like you're just so used to this weight. You're so used to this chaos. You're so used to the propensity of fixing everybody's tower that you are literally sitting there like, remember, if you've ever seen the Never Ending Story, remember when Atreyu was trying to push Artax out of the Swamp of Sadness, but he knew he could not save him. He knew, like, he was begging and pleading with him, but he knew he could not save him. Only Artax could save himself, and he had to literally watch his horse die. It was the saddest death in movie history in the 80s. And we've all grown up a little bit, more humble within ourselves because of it. But that's kind of how you feel. Like, you don't want to watch the situation like go down in flames. You don't want that to happen. But at the same time, that sadness that Artax had was given to Atreyu. He could have easily lost himself in the swamp of sadness, but Falcor came and got him at the last moment. And there is a Falcor out there for you, as cliche as that may sound. But there is one out there for you. There is one that is going to help you through this, whether it is your faith alone and God alone, or whatever carries you. Sometimes that has to be enough. And you will come out of this, okay? You will come from this a stronger and more independent person. And there is a strong, definite lesson in this season that needs to come from this. Take your time, though, no rush. You know, just make sure that you are feeding your soul at this time, and you're giving yourself that love and that self care as much as you can. Okay. Because it's very hard to perform actions of this magnitude when we're not okay. All righty. And Marianne, right? Okay. Did she, general? Okay. So a general for Miss Marianne. We're not on signs, puppy. They're independent readings, personal readings. Alrighty. Miss Marianne. So every time Marianne pops into any chat, I always remember Marianne from Alice in Wonderland with the white rabbit. That's why I'm always like, Marianne. Now see here, Marianne. Because she like got large inside of his house and pissed off the white rabbit. Okay. Anyway. Reaper. For the birth of something new to manifest, the death of something holding you back is inevitable. So, creature of habit, huh, Marianne? Or maybe not a creature of habit. Maybe it's just time to let that situation, certain person, thought process, mentality, things like that. Maybe it is just time to let those things go. Sometimes it's just our heavy emotional thought process that we have to let go of. But sometimes it's a friend, sometimes it's a person. Hey, Hensley. Sometimes it is a situation. Sometimes it's just something that is done serving its purpose, whether good or bad. And in order for you to have that new exciting adventure, you got to let go of something, and whatever that is. And as soon as you let it go, that other thing can finally walk through the door. So let's clarify that. Let's see how this applies to you specifically. Alrighty. Clarify this for Marianne. All right. So at a time where you might have just let things kind of happen, just, it is what it is because it is what it is. Oh, well, now is the time for you to be like, no, it is what it is because you are what you are. And there you go. Need I say more? Ace of Wands. This is a perfect example of this card. New stuff can't happen because you got this blockage going on. Something hasn't, you got to, sometimes you do got to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Sometimes you do have to throw away, the trash can to take out the trash. So there you go. You're going to get a new trash can. I can't say you're going to get a new baby in the bathwater, but you know what I mean. All righty. You got to create balance. Something is definitely imbalanced, whether it's a person, place, situation, habit, behavior, whatever it is creating a lot of imbalance. It has created a lot of non equal give and take. But as soon as this thing remedies itself, as soon as you kick this thing out, whatever it is, it could be simple as self doubt. It can be that simple. Once that's gone, you're going to be like, you know what? Why did I ever hold on to that? I am just so much more like at ease, at peace, understanding. I'm open to receiving, the good and the bad because I know that the bad serves me just as much as good does. But sometimes we have to reformulate the process. We have to look at it from a different perspective. And this is what this is asking you to do. You've got to really focus on what shouldn't be because it doesn't need to be, because it's literally like building a dam against what needs to come in, and that fortification of yourself. And it could be just something as much as creative intellect, because I know you do a lot of writing and I know you do a lot of really awesome creative things. And, you know, removing this blockage is going to allow that to flow even stronger than it ever has. So, this is pretty simple, but yet straightforward. And I know you're kind of simple and yet straightforward in a lot of things. So I think this message is going to be as clear as it needs to be for you. And I think you kind of know how to apply it. So, who did we have next? Love you, Marianne. Hey, hey. He fell asleep, you guys. Wake up. Who's after Marianne? Dom. Okay. Did Dom beat out Beth in the. Okay. So we'll go Dom and then Beth. Okay. Fluff's down there sleeping. I thought you were gonna like make food or something. You have to what? Oh, that's right. Okay. So we're gonna do a couple more readings. Okay, wait. Okay, is it Dom or is it Beth?
Apparently, Dom, I'm looking back at the chat now. Apparently, Dom says it's fine for her to go
Okay, so we're gonna do Beth. Ladies first. Okay. So we're gonna go with Beth here. Message for Beth. Okay. And you as well got Witch's Rosary. And that is craft your skill with intentions repeated, a practice of magic powered by purpose. So you need to actually give yourself to your craft. You have to, instead of making the goal, you have to make the goal. You have to put practice into the performance. So that's basically what's going on here. It's kind of like the shit or get off the pot type thing. If there's something you've been wanting to do, go finally do it. If there's something you've been saying you're going to do, or even if you haven't been saying it, if it's just been a wheel thought in your head, this is something you really need to just actually do for yourself. You need to prove to yourself that, it is in your wheelhouse, it is your possibility, and relieve yourself from the negative doubt and relieve yourself from the idea of exclusion and go from there. But let's get some clarity. And that popped out right away with the Queen of Cups in the reverse. So, Queen of Cups in reverse. So, right now, you are not feeling like you are in control of emotions and situations. Or maybe you might be feeling like, you know what, I'm just not mentally or emotionally ready for the things that I need to do. You're finding areas within yourself. You're kind of creating your own holes in the cheese, in other words, and then blaming the mouse for it. It's just not what's occurring. You got to get yourself together. Like, you got to feel it, be it, and feel it, see it, and be it. And that's what it's bringing you, the call of action wise. So even though I know you don't feel it right now, or it doesn't feel that it is in alignment, you're giving yourself those reasons for the pushback that you might be experiencing with this. And with the Four Cups, and as I always tell people, this is literally the card of not like, it's a lot of people say missed opportunity, but it's a little bit more than that. It is a little bit more of the lack of knowledge and the lack of consideration of oneself. And being that this is cups, this is all emotional, this is all literally feeling based. This is something where it's depression can be heavy at this time, extra heavy at this time. And the way to remedy that is to literally give yourself time and space for self-preservation, putting something into practice. It could be something as, when you're depressed, or when anybody's depressed, something as simple as taking a shower every day can be a chore. Maybe that is just something that you might need to, just an example. That's the type of ideology of it, is putting that into practice, knowing I need to do it, but putting it into practice on a daily basis. And it could be even as simple as drinking water. Some people don't do that for themselves. They don't, they know they need it, but they're like, no, I'm just gonna, whatever, coffee's easier, I like that better, instead of, but we all know that you need water, that type of mental focus. um this also could have to do with, friendships, relationships. um I know that I need to give myself more to the situation. I know that I need to practice this behavior, what, blah blah blah, etc. But I don't feel I'm good enough. I don't feel that it's within my alignment or within my reach. And the truth is, it was all along. You just refuse to let yourself see it because you're caught up in this, self exclusivity. And there you have it. You have your wheel of fortune. In order to get what you desire, just put things into practice. Things will transition, things will turn, and things will be rewarding to you. As soon as you do that, you're going to start seeing the change. It's, literally, taking that one match out of the line so that the fire can no longer burn. It is literally just putting that one cognitive behavioral therapy application into something. All you have to do is change one thing and it changes the whole episode. So one action, one thought changes the pattern. So just change the pattern. All right, hopefully that made sense, Beth. Yeah, so You know what? If people discourage you, all you have to do is encourage you. Change the pattern. Okay. All right. Nobody can stop you from your goals but you. That's bottom line. You're the final say in your equation. Mr. Dom. Does Dom have a specific question, or do you just want like a general? What's going on? You're welcome, Beth. Hey, wake yourself up. There's no snoring during my live streams. Just a general. All right. Okay. For Mr. Dom. Messages for Mr. Dom. Stubborn energy, Dom, as usual. Dom is always very stubborn. Stubborn with messages specifically, as you can tell. Okay. Witches gathering. Okay. You need to find your tribe, Dom. You've been excluded, you've been included, and then re excluded all through your life. And you have found a way to self soothe. All right, sis, you take care, hun. Thanks for being here. You found a way to be okay with it because you've given this situation a name and a space. You've told yourself it is like this because I'm like this, and nothing's going to change that, and I just have to accept it for what it is, which is a bold-faced lie. All right, you're allowed to have relationships, you're allowed to have friendships, you're allowed to have enriching things in your life. And it is very important at this time that you remember that and that you are including yourself in things. So, making sure you're including yourself with family, making sure you're including yourself with friends, but make sure these are the people that are actually giving vitality to you, okay? That are actually fortifying you instead of like I keep, trying to hang out with these people, but they just don't really care. They don't come around and make sure that I'm okay. They don't you know, there's not equal give and take. Like maybe those aren't the relationships that you prioritize, okay? You need to be prioritizing the ones that are there for you. Maybe they aren't the ones that you think about on the top scale of things, are the people that, the ones that are showing up. Maybe you're like, hey, I don't always reach out back to them. But on the totem pole of people in Dom's lives, it's the ones that want to be a part of your life, the ones that want to be there for you, for Dom, not Dom the YouTube person, not Dom the paranormal investigator, not Dom because of your intelligence and intellect, just most specifically because you're a cool dude. Okay, those are the situations and friendships and things that you need to be considering of yourself. But it is very difficult because you have some cognitive stuff. My ex-husband had Asperger's, and I can definitely understand how you can train your brain. Okay. And my ex-husband did very well, where he was like, he, like I said, they just accept things for it being what it is. They, you know, very black and white and seldomly gray. Okay. So you have to work with those ideologies and those assets of you that your mind isn't always going to be considering. So if sometimes I, would tell my ex-husband to take a pen and paper and literally write down when somebody called them. He had a little notebook of who reached out to him. And I said, next at the end of the week, go through it and count how many times that person reached out to you and tally it up. And he's like, okay. And he would do that. And he'd be like, okay, you reached out to me the most, text message, etc. And then it was this person and this person and this person. And I was like, all right, but let's go back and realize who you were reaching out to. And, he didn't always reach out to me first. He didn't always respond to me first because I was an easy access. I was an easy gain. He knew I would always be there. So he was reaching out to people that he thought he needed in his life, or he thought he needed the um connection with. And so from there, he was realizing like, yeah, that person never reaches back out to me, but I've messaged them, 100 times. They've messaged, 30. And I'm like, okay, so what is the pattern here? Well, I'm ignoring those that are fortifying me. I'm ignoring those that want to be in my life because of me. So he finally got to self identify those patterns. But it's telling you to be in the presence of people. Yes, and it will continue to cost a lot because people are innately selfish. It like I've posted on Twitter multitude of times. We are definitely products of emotion, and we are definitely products of what feels good or what we assume feels good. And we don't look at the long term. We don't look at that inclusivity versus exclusivity. So coming out of your shell, being okay with being authentically yourself, being okay with being, Dom, being okay with every part of you. There's going to be quirks and things that are, unconventional about you. It's the same with everybody. Nobody's, you know, going to be 100% on everybody's check off list, and that's fine. Who the fuck wants to be? So you just need to sit there and be like, even so I have self-doubt, even so I'm nervous about this and I have anxiety about this, even so I don't feel like this, I want to make sure that I am giving to those that have given to me. And that's something that you need to focus on, because you'll find out going forward, those things are enriching you and bringing you into that plexus of where you want to be. Okay. Bringing you out of feeling not good enough or inexcluded or be careful with how you speak to people. I've spoken on this once before tonight, but also be careful on the way people speak to you. Maybe you're misinterpreting what people are telling you. Okay. Sometimes when we get suctioned into our own minds and our minds are programmed to be very analytical, mine is definitely that way. We forget to include other people's opinions, and we'll kind of twist them and manipulate them to adding in our ego to it. So you could be misinterpreting what a lot of people are telling you. Um, and those could be people that are looking after your best interests and have your best interest at heart. So try really hard to take the words for exactly what they are, but ask questions, Dom. Don't be afraid to say, I just want to make sure this is what you meant. Don't be afraid of that. The worst the person could do is confirm what you thought, but you already thought that anyway. So you've already gone through that um, emotional process. But the best thing that could happen is you could have been wrong. And the best time to be wrong is when you thought something was horrible when it really truly wasn't. That is the best time to be wrong. So that's the way you need to kind of introspectively look at things right now when it involves your people and gatherings and being around family, friends. Like I said, those that are fortifying you, those that are truly looking out for you. All righty. Hopefully that made some sense. All right. So, was that everybody? Fluff doesn't get a reading because he's sleeping. You're welcome, sir. Okay. And if you ever have any questions or anything like that, like I said, never be afraid to ask a question, because the worst somebody can do is not answer you, but at least you did your diligence. Okay. And if they're a decent person at all, they will be totally okay with explaining, like, no, this is really what I meant. But we understand people are emotional, and sometimes emotions are like, I don't want to talk to somebody I don't want to talk to. You know, people need to grow up, but some don't. Just accept it as that person's not emotionally ready to have a mature conversation, and that's okay. You can then go to somebody else and be like, look, this is what happened. Did I accept this right? What was your interpretation? And kind of work that out that way. If it matters to you, sometimes it's simple as writing it down, burning the paper, and letting it go. Okay. If you can't get any conclusion out of it, sometimes you just have to let it go. And I noticed with my mind, And I noticed also with my husband, sometimes we had to see the tangibility of it. We had to physically see it because we weren't getting it physically from that person. So we would have to like literally write it down and rip it or burn it to get rid of it and let it in casting it off. And that let us physically have that closure that we weren't going to be receiving. So hopefully that makes sense. All righty, guys. So I think that that's everybody on the list. Um, I'll probably do like a pick a card reading type thing. Maybe I don't know. I might just be leaving this as a personal live reading. If there's anything that did come out in your reading that you don't want to be public, just let me know. Message me or just uh, comment below saying, I'd like my reading to remain private, and I'll go ahead and I'll mark the stream to private. The reason I don't do live personal reads is because you never know what information is going to come out. And sometimes that information is not for everybody. And sometimes we don't want everybody knowing those things. Okay. Not that the information wasn't correct, not that it wasn't good, but it's just sometimes, and I totally respect people's boundaries, personal space, and personal growth. So if at any time somebody's like, I don't want that out there, just let me know. I take it down. It's fine. I'm here for you guys. I'm not here for the likes, views, comments, and everything. Those are great, but they're not the reason that I have the gifts that I have, and they're not the reason I do what I do. So, with that being said, I will. I did a pick a card on the Beltane one, and that one did pretty good. So I think I'm gonna do like a pick a card with this one. Probably not this week because I'm gonna be pretty busy up until like next Friday. So I might be releasing it then, but then we also have like Samhain, I'll be doing a Samhain reading in the same fashion. And so maybe I'll do that one as a pick card. And that one will just be an uploaded video if I choose to do that. But we're just trying some different things, trying to see what goes good with the channel and what works well with you guys. With that being said, you guys have a blessed equinox. You have a blessed season, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.